Hi, everyone. I'm out of breath. I just ran downstairs to grab something and I came back up, and now my heart's beating like a million miles a minute. Hopefully, we have no issues with the mic this time. Last time we were golden, so let's hope that it stays that way this time. So let me know if there's anything going on, and I will happily make adjustments as needed. Hi from Wales, from Cheshire. Is it Cheshire? Cheshire? I don't know. Kansas City. No, Kansas. Sorry. I don't know how to read. It's wonderful. Okay, good. I hope everyone had a good holiday. If you are still celebrating, enjoy. If you are done, I hope that you are relaxing. Thank you. I appreciate that. If you are still off for the holidays, enjoy that relaxing time. Thank you, Hexen. Hello from San Antonio. Howdy, neighbor. Oh my gosh. Hi, everybody. Hi, Monica. Hi, Kathy. Thank you guys for tuning in. Okay. So I am here. I am alive. We made it through Christmas just fine. My son and my husband are home. So we'll see if I get any interruptions. Gaia is not in the room this time, so I don't think she will be making any appearances, but we will see. Hi from Belgium. Hi from Charleston. I have family in Myrtle Beach, so not too far. Let's see. So like I said, my husband and my son are home. I had to make my husband stop woodworking so that you guys didn't hear the sander downstairs. I had mentioned on the last live that he is making us this really nice cabinet for our 3D printer, and we finally got everything done except for the top. He's making it's almost like a butcher's block. And so the wood came in, it's fully dried out now. And so now he's sanding it down. The amount of dust that is actively on our driveway, because we've converted the garage into his workshop, and so his wood shop. And so, as he's sanding and planing and doing everything, it's just sawdust everywhere. We've been I guess you could say fostering, but not really. We've been taking care of a feral cat. He kind of showed up at our door in February and never left. Like 2 weeks after he showed up, my son was like, and his friend, like, oh, let's build him a little house. And, a lot of cats don't care for, it's like a little mini dog house. Like, my husband took his scrap pieces of wood and got the kids, and they made this little cat house, and he loves that thing. And he just decided he chose us, right? We're friendly to all cats. And so anyway, his name is Oliver, and he's been hanging out ever since February. I mean, every morning I go out and we have this little 3D printed coffee cup that we use to scoop his food, and I just call Oliver, and within a minute, he is bounding up to me, ready to go in the garage and get his food. And we leave our garage kind of permanently cracked for him to go in and get food and be comfortable from the heat or the cold or the rain. And days like today, when there's so much sawdust, he's just absolutely covered in it whenever he's in there and he's laying down. So he is a mess. Anyway, that's a long story about Oliver. Yeah. So, yes, I will share the photos of the 3D printer cabinet once he's done with that. It's, it's not like this huge fancy thing, but for us, it's really nice because he's made so much of our furniture, and it's so nice. It's always cherry or maple wood and stuff. And so we know the value, we know how long it's going to last, and it's really awesome stuff. But the average eye would just be like, oh, well, that's just a normal cabinet. But we're like, oh no, but it's not. Okay. We love it. He's awesome. Anyway, sewing updates. So I think that the Pisces pack, I'm in the middle of writing it. And so I know that's not the news we wanted. I know a lot of us wanted to say, oh no, she's going to be announcing it like tomorrow. I wish. I truly wish, but I'm not there. So, the I want so far, like, typed instructions, like, in a row instructions, I'm at, I wanna say 39 pages, and then I have a lot of pages after that that are kinda, like, prepped. So they're the beginning of sections, they have the cut lists, then there's the, like, last few pages that are the same with every pattern, which are tester photos, the, celebrating your make section, and, like, the little blurb that I have that essentially thanks you for buying the pattern. So, the way that I write my patterns is, so I will design, 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 so, and then when I'm ready to type up the instructions, I literally have a big blank document, and I have a bunch of text boxes and a bunch of empty picture frames, and I mentally sew and type as I go. And I literally just think out every next step. And so it's a long, drawn out process, but it's the way that I like to do it. And so it's not typically a long process, especially if it's the same process I've sewn 20 times. The difficult thing with the add-on pack, such as like the weekend add-on pack and this one, there's so many variations that I haven't sewn that exact process as many times as I've sewn the normal, like a normal design that has, one process start to finish. And so it ends up being just a little bit slower because I kind of have to like pick my brain a bit more than I normally would. And I have to refer to notes of something that maybe I sewed up like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, and remember and try to remember what that meant. Very unorganized in that sense. But once it's written down on paper or in my and in design, it's a lot more organized because I'm kind of like organizing it as it's getting pulled out of my brain. Anyway, that's the way that I work. And then when I'm done, I follow all my instructions step by step and take the pictures. And if I've missed something along the way, then I know where I have missed that because I'm like, oh, well, I'm supposed to do this right now and I don't have that next step. Then I can take that extra picture and then alter the instructions when I get done editing every single photo of the hundreds that I take and put them in the pattern. So it's part of the reason why it takes so long. I mean, editing photos takes me 2 days alone at minimum. Anyway, that's the update on the Pisces. The writing is there. I assume that I'll be done writing by no later than the end of Monday. I was writing today. I was writing yesterday. I'll be writing a little bit maybe this evening, tomorrow morning, Sunday morning, and then on Monday. Oh, I'm sorry about the ads. I click the balanced button for the monetization so that it's not too bad, hopefully. But if it really is obnoxious, just let me know and I'll drop it down to the less balanced version. But I mean, it's like I think you just get less ads. Anyway, if it is obnoxious, I will absolutely alter that. I am sorry. So yeah, the digital pieces are all done, except for one minor adjustment that I have to make on one piece. And then other than that, those are easy. There's not a ton of extra pieces. So looking forward to the Pisces pack. It'll be ready when it's ready though. And thank you for your hard work. Thank you. Thank you, Kathy. Yeah, I've given myself grace with this. I hate so much that I was like, by the end of the year. And then I'm like, oh, by the middle of January. And that's why I hate giving dates. Because, as when so much, so the whole thing about the like, what's the word I was looking for? The creative slump that I was in, burnout, like things still happen and I still have to do them. And then, but it gets pushed back, obviously. But then other things in life are happening too. And so it's kind of like, damn, I really thought that I would be able to have this time. But like a great example is we have been planning to go to Big Bend in December for a while. And we just did that last weekend. It was absolutely amazing. Can't explain, unless you've ever seen it, what a clear night sky looks like. To be able to see the Milky Way and the planets with, without a telescope. We had a telescope in the car, didn't bring it out. Maybe we should have now that I think about it. But it was just so amazing to just sit there and at this cabin and just look at that night sky, you know. So anyway, we were there. We were there from Thursday. We got back, I don't remember what day. Well, midnight Sunday morning, maybe. And you know, it's like, oh, great. Well, I'll be gone from Thursday to Saturday night. Not true. I can't do anything, even though we left the late morning Thursday. There's no work that gets done that day. And then the day before, I have to prep to leave and all this stuff. And then there's Christmas stuff for the kiddo at school activities. Just everything in life continues to happen and you still have to deal with it. But when you have a creative burnout and you push it off, those things got to get done too. So then it piles up. And I'm in the like, oh, everything piled up phase. And now I'm able to hopefully get it all nice and even, but it is what it is. I hate making excuses, and it's not my jam. And so but it is what it is. It's just the truth of it. So I have to just give myself grace and understand that, like, I'm doing the best that I can, and it'll be done when it's done. And one day I will learn to never ever give any dates ever. And this is, I'm so lucky to live in a dark sky location, so I understand how amazing it is to look up and see so many stars with just your eyes. Exactly. I mean, it was so funny because we were waiting for the suns to set. So we showed up at the cabin 6:30 or so, and like it was getting pretty dark. You could barely see the outline of the mountains, and I'm like, that cannot be a star. That has to be like a satellite or something. Like I don't know. There's no way. That's a plane or something. And then come to find out it's not a star. It was a planet. And I was like, I couldn't believe that I could see all of these amazing stars and these planets just with my eyes. It was absolutely amazing. I cannot wait to go back. That's okay, Nikki. You're here and you're not late. I mean, you're not too late. You're great. Perfect. So yeah, let's see. Pisces Pack update was done. I told you about my Big Bend trip. Oh, I will tell you about all the wildlife that we saw in Big Bend. Okay, so I'm all over the place. I have notes today, but who knows if I'll follow them. So our trip from Big Bend. So from here to Big Bend was about 6.5, 7 hours, depending on who's driving. If I'm driving, it's 7. If Alex is driving, it's 6.5, probably. I am a speed limit or less type of person. It is what it is. And it's a long drive. There's like nothing there except for mountains and mountains. And it's like they look like you just zoomed in on dirt piles or little stone piles, but it's just, they're vast and it's so desolate between here and Big Bend. It's absolutely crazy. There's just nothing there. Hi, Nicole. And we get there and we have this cabin in like kind of 45 minutes away from the town that's right next to Big Bend. That town is called Terlingua. And that's kind of like a ghost town that's been kind of re-upped for the tourists that come to visit Big Bend. And we had this cabin kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And, you know, for the last like 3.5 miles to the cabin is dirt roads. So my little hatchback sedan made its way there, thankfully. It has a hitch on it and everything. It's the little engine who could. And we get there and we have just an amazing time. We see the stars. We finally get there and we got to experience that. And it was cold, but it wasn't that cold. It was just amazing. We got to see, the first night we were there, we had this like huge great horned owl that was right outside our window and woke me up from the hooting. And I woke up and I look outside the like porch door that's there, and I'm like, I'm so out of it because I'm sleeping. And there's also a fake owl on the porch, not like on the railing past it. And I'm like sitting there and he's completely outlined, but I'm like, am I making this up? I can't believe that this is happening. Like I was dreaming. And then I woke up my husband. I'm like, is that an owl? He goes, no, there's one. I'm like, nope, look up in the rafters. He's like, oh yeah, immediately falls back asleep. And then I got to watch it fly away. So it was like super majestic. It was very cool. We got to see 3 wild horses right next to we went off-roading for both days for quite a while. And we got to see those. We got to see some boar. I believe it was a fox. I don't know. It ran across the road. A lot of little jackrabbits. The amount of javelina poo that we saw was crazy, but we didn't see that many javelinas. So thankfully, we did a 3.5 hour-ish hike in the middle of our day that we were off-roading. So we left at like 7 in the morning and got home at like 10:30, 11 or so. And the whole day was spent off-roading or hiking or driving. And so that was a long day. But I'm trying to think what else we saw. We didn't see any rattlesnakes, no scorpions, thankfully. I'm sure we saw more, but I think we saw a deer. We saw one deer. Yeah, it was great to be out there. I had essentially no service, or I just wasn't on my phone. Essentially 100% of the time we were in Big Bend. We got pictures. We hiked the day that we went hiking. We were off-roading. We have to off-road essentially to all the way to the corner of Big Bend. And then you do this hike that's about 3.5 hours or so, depending on how fast you go. And then we had to drive all the way back out of the park. And that was a mistake because it was way too long of a day to be out there. And so my husband did the off-roading, and javelina are the like little boars. But so my husband was off-roading on the way there. We rented this Jeep, and we've never done anything like this before. So we just jumped right in. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not driving that. I'm the person who drives under the speed limit. So please don't make me do off-roading. But then I felt bad because we were, he'd done that all morning. And then we did the hike. And I thought, it's like, we're a team. We need to share the workload. So I was like, I'll drive the way back. And we were just absolutely pooped. We brought the exact amount of water that we needed. It was 68 degrees. We were sweating to death. It was amazing, though. And we get to the car, and I'm driving this off-roading Jeep for hours. I think the way home, we took the longer way home with the roads that were not as kept up as well. And it was like dark, essentially, after we were driving for less than an hour. And let's see, I think we left at 5:30 and we got home, which so 45 minutes away from Big Bend is where we stayed. So we got home, I think, around 10:30, 11, something like that. I don't know. But anyway, I was pooped, but the whole time I was like white knuckling this Jeep. I took 3 or 4 riverbeds that I thought were roads. I went and I drove down the riverbed. That's a thing that can happen. Alex had to get out with thankfully he got this really bright flashlight and go figure out if we were on the road or not, because you just couldn't tell. That's how bad it was. It was absolutely exhausting. Looking back on it, it's kind of like labor. You're like, oh, like it wasn't that bad, haha. But in the moment, I was like, this has to get better at some point, and it truly didn't. And the whole time we were driving this Jeep Wrangler, and I don't know if this is the case with every Jeep Wrangler that goes off-road, but the back hatch thing where the tire sits on, every time you go over a bump, it was like the loudest banging, rattling noise ever. We even tried to see if we could like ratchet the thing down. We couldn't. Anyway, that's our Big Bend story. We had a great time. We are a great team as a unit, and so we made the best of it, and we giggled and laughed and everything. But I don't think I'll ever sign up to off-road in the dark ever again. I felt bad for every single time I drove down that riverbed. You're not supposed to do that. And I'm sure that I killed probably 1 or 2 plants along the way, and that wasn't fun. So anyway, that's our Big Bend story. We came back. We got ready for Christmas. I had Christmas, and here we are. Yeah. So I do have some other things to bring up as far for the live, just like I had said I would, give you updates on random things as well as, sewing stuff, vice versa. So I did a deep cleaning of my room, reorganized my closet. I typically do that at the end of the year or right after I do my inventory for the year. Inventory happens in January, but I really needed a reset. Monica says, that sounds so stressful, but you did it. Beautiful family memories. Yes, thank you. It was very stressful. And yeah, my husband, the hike was so long and we just didn't know where it ended, and we were tired and we were hot and everything. And he was like, well, what was, do you think it was worth it? And, because I'm like, truly, yeah, it was worth it to see the view, but like there were a lot of other really nice views before then that I probably would have been okay with not hiking for a lot of hours in the heat, in the desert, up and down hills constantly next to Javelina Poo. But I said yes, it was, because it was great for us as a family to get through it and get to the other side and do that, all while encouraging each other and just being very positive and that. So for me, he was like, man, that's such a mom answer. And I'm like, well, dude, you get what you get, like, yeah, that's the way that it is. It just, to get through it and something hard, we're homebodies. We play video games all day, every day when we're not working, or at school. So it was good for us. Anyway, great memories for that. So anyway, inventory normally happens in January, and it will, but I just needed that reset. For me, I tell you guys, I love my room organized and clean, and it stays that way typically all the time. And I value being in an organized space so much. It really helps with my creative kind of process. I need organization. And so, like, even if I'm in the middle of a bag and I try to put something down and there's just crap everywhere, I will immediately stop, clean up my room, and then I'll continue on sewing. And so I just felt like I needed that. Oh, hi, Nova. For my own mental health, for getting the pattern going and everything. I just really needed that reset. And I'm so happy that I did. Every single time I walked back into this room since I've cleaned it and reorganized it, it just feels so good. It's hard to explain that if you're not one of those people who needs that kind of clean reset like me. But anyway, I guess that's the whole type A personality. And let's see. I had my sale. So I only do a couple bag drops a year. I know almost everyone here that's tuning in is probably more of a sewist than a customer of mine. And that's okay. Not to be rude, but I love my sewist followers, and I don't want them to be my customers. I want them, of my bags, I want them to make their own. And so anyway, thanks for tuning in. But I did have my bag drop in the beginning of December, and I don't have that many of those nowadays, just because I don't have the time for it as much. And so that went well. I'm very happy about that. I will say, though, being that I'm among fellow sewists who probably also sell things, it never gets easier selling bags. Like, every single time I create a listing and I put the price on it, nowadays I sell them for a lot more than I used to. And every time I'm like, it's going to fall apart. They're going to pull it out of the box and it's going to fall apart. They're going to look at this stitch and see that it's off. They're going to hate it. It's just, there's so much self-doubt that goes into every sale. And this one was no different. But I haven't sold anything bag-wise since July. And it was really nice to be able to sell stuff and have that kind of affirmation for myself. Like, hey, you're still doing okay, even though you had this long creative burnout, and, I feel a little less successful with the pattern stuff because I not put it off, but like I've been going through this kind of slump, and like this Pisces pack is a big hurdle that I'm trying to get over. And so it was really, really good and encouraging for me to experience. And then I also was able to do some destashing as well, which came from the room cleaning and stuff like that. There is one box for that left on the website. It's kind of the bigger one, and it's the last box that I had that would fit vinyls. So if anyone wants that, it's still there. But all the other ones sold. I did some strikes for Alchemats. Alchemats Materials and Hardware. They're one of my favorite companies, and she did a strike, and I have some of the fabrics here, and so I'm going to show you them. The pre-order is still up for a couple more days if you want to get in on that. Let me check up on the comments. Oh, how I wish I had that kind of organizational skill. Mine is utter chaos. I cannot function in chaos. I can't do it. There's chaos up here, so everything else needs to be nice and neat. A clean reset is always so good. It really is. And honestly, it's cathartic for me doing it. And knowing that everything has a home makes cleaning so quick, too. It's so reassuring not to be the only one with those thoughts. I love making bags, but every time I sell one, I do the same thing. Yep, guaranteed it's going to fall apart the second somebody touches it. That's what happens in my mind. The self-doubt is just off the roof, or off the charts. That's what I was looking for. Okay, so the Alchemats pre-order, I think it's alchematsmaterialandhardware.com. I don't know. I'll probably update the description. If I forget, comment or send me an email or comment on Facebook, or find a way to contact me and I will get you the link if I happen to forget and you're interested in purchasing. But so the custom fabric. Oh, Rowan, I remember you once said you get rid of your scraps at the end of the year. That was a game changer for me. Now I do the same. Yes. As much as I love to use scraps and to be efficient and to not waste, especially as someone who has to do inventory every year, it is not worth my time hour-wise, like my hourly wage. It's not worth the savings of using scraps. And I don't make a lot of small things that utilize a lot of scraps anyway. So I use the most of what I can. I cut as efficiently as I can. I save the things that I want to save. And at the end of the year, if I'm not using it, if it's taking up space, if I have kept it for longer than a year or two, that is going out the door. It's just, that's the way that we are. We find new things. We like new things. As our skills grow, we become way more picky. And I just don't see the need in keeping those scraps. Now, if it's something like Mora vinyl or saddle smooth that I know I have a lot of that color and I know I use it a lot, then I will keep those scraps, but all the rest of them will go. The same goes for like woven interfacing. Like, to me, it's not worth my time trying to piece together 10 different scraps of woven interfacing to make it put on the piece that I need. It's a business for me, and so that is a calculated loss, if that makes sense. So anyway, I firmly believe in just letting them go. It's okay, we can let them go. As long as you made something and you enjoyed it, or if you ended up hating it, just find a way to release it. We always have way too much stuff. There's no way I could use all of the materials in my sewing room over the next 5 years if I bought nothing. There's truly no way. So I'm just like, it's okay to let it go. That is really relatable. Your bags are about as close to perfect as it gets. I will forever treasure the technique you taught me about moving stitches into the seam allowance. Well, I mean, I'm glad that helped you. I feel like you and I got a lot of time to kind of, for me to give you a bunch of my little tips at the So Whatever studio, and I hope that they serve you well. I don't find any of my bags to be perfect, but thank you. I just try really hard, and I hope that it's as perfect as I can make it, but there are a lot more people out there who have a lot more skill than I do. And I would never imagine if I picked up their bags out of a box, they would fall apart. So, but I, of course, think that about mine. So anyway, back to the fabric. So this is Lord of the Rings shelf fabric. And so it is, I made a rosy, as you can see. I don't care about fussy cutting. This is the way that I am. If it's always worth it for me to make it as the exact cut that I want, and if that means I cut in the middle of my fabric, that's what I do. I never have any regrets about doing that. Unless I fully waste it by accident, like I cut it the wrong direction or something, and I've just wasted that whole like half a yard or whatever. But anyway, so I'm going to show you this, and then I'm going to mute so I can cough. I made a shortcut for muting. I love it. So if you can tell, this is all like, I feel like I showed this last time. did I show this? If anyone was here and I showed this, now that I'm like talking about it, I feel like I've showed it last time. Anyway, this is the this is the large scale, and it's essentially if you were Lord of the Rings, if you bought Lord of the Rings merch and like fandom stuff, these are the kind of things that you would have bought and put on your shelf. And I just love that so much. I love that idea versus it being like actual objects from Lord of the Rings. It's Lord of the Rings kind of inspired merch. Anyway, I love it. So I have it in large scale and in regular scale. And I used regular scale. I used both of them on Rosie's. And so if you're in my Facebook group, you can see them there. I will be posting them, I think, to Instagram today or tomorrow. I don't even know what day of the year it is. It's the 27th. So probably tomorrow. And then the pre-order ends on the 29th. I think 28th or 29th. I'm supposed to know all of these things. And I don't. That's fun. Anyway, so they're available. They're awesome. I use just regular. It's called water resistant canvas. It feels and acts just like regular canvas. That's why I like it. I prefer it over vinyl because I can do more with that. I can make it a lining, or I can make it a flap, or I can make it the exterior. I just really, really love canvas. I think way more than custom vinyl nowadays. So anyway, that's available now. Again, I'll drop all the links for this. I'll try to remember to drop the links for this in the description for this video. But definitely check that out. She also has hardware, and not just this. I mean, there's Pokemon, Harry Potter, Star Wars, shell fabric, plus a bunch of other prints too, and coordinates, some semi-exclusive prints and some exclusive prints. Most of them are exclusive, like that one. Yeah. Also, a quick note about that. There was someone who posted somewhere looking for the seamless file for this print, and they used a striker's photo and they went in search of it. And I understand that some people just don't understand that there is some etiquette to that involved, using somebody else's photo in search of somebody else's art. But it happens. You know, Olivia has this happen a lot. That's why she watermarks the crap out of all of her stuff. And unfortunately, it still happens even when it's striker photos. So just a heads up, if you didn't know, that's kind of poor etiquette to do any of that without asking any of the owner's permission, either the owner of the artwork or the owner of the photo of the person who took that bag. You shouldn't be using anyone's digital property without their permission, whether you've asked them and they've refused to answer you, or they neglected to answer you, or anything. It's not yours. You don't have the right to it. Make sure that you ask. Even if you're in that Facebook group, it doesn't mean that you automatically have the right to use anyone's intellectual or digital property, period. Okay, Rowan says, Olivia's water-resistant canvas is so amazing. I feel it holds up better than vinyl when it comes to fading and scuffing. Exactly. I think that canvas is just a bit more robust than custom vinyl. And at the price that I sell my bags, I want to make sure they're going to last. And so if I'm shying away from vinyl almost entirely, or from custom vinyl almost entirely. And so when I really want a custom print, I'm going to be going for canvas or woven more than anything else, especially her canvas just holds up so wonderfully. Monica asked if I would recommend it for the Rowena exterior. I don't see why not. I did use this same stuff for a Harry Potter version. She had the one with the herbology print, and I used it on the exterior of a Rowena. And that's the one that I actually tested the handle connector, the handles that I used. I forget what I even call them. I think I call them handle connectors. That process, I even did a pulling and ripping test on that canvas for the Rowena before I released it. So it will hold up just fine. That's why I said it's fine if you use canvas or woven. You just need to interface it properly for the Rowena. Yes. Next up, I don't have it with me, and I need to post. I have all these things I need to post. This is what this time of year is for me. It's so busy, and I'm very forgetful because I'm also not online a lot. So these things I don't get reminded by visual triggers. But Saya Swag has a coupon calendar for 2025, and throughout the year, designers and suppliers and shops and vendors and all that have offered up coupon codes specific for customers who purchase this Saya Swag calendar, and they're on specific days or specific time frames. And the only way you get all that information is if you purchase one of those calendars. They are for sale now. I will update the link in the comments. I'll try to remember. Oh, hi, Nicole. Damn, you didn't. The first time I think I logged in or I did this live, I was wearing your shirt and I'm not wearing it today, and now I'm upset. Anyway, hi, Lauren. So I know that Lauren is on there. Lauren offered, I think, a couple discount codes in the Saya Swag calendar. Nico can say if she put one in there as well. I think I remember seeing her logo on there. A bunch, I think there was over 50 or 55 shops that all put their logo and put a discount code in there specific for the calendar. So it's worth it. I think it's $40. But depending on how much, and if you're watching this, you probably shop from most of those businesses that are in this calendar. So $40 seems to make maybe a lot, but depending on what you get and how often you think that you would purchase from those shops, you can end up saving the full $40 and then some. Oh, yes. See, Nico says she did add a coupon. Awesome. So anyway, if you've been waiting on discounts for patterns, for products, or anything like that, it's definitely worth checking out. It's on sayaswag.com, her website. And so you could just see there if those vendors are people that you want to shop from or you plan to shop from, but we're looking for a sale. Well, now you know when you're going to shop next year. So definitely check them out. Yeah. What's next? I'm going to have a sale starting tomorrow for the end of 2024. It's going to actually go to the 1st. It's going to be from tomorrow until 11:59 p.m. Central on January 1st of 2025. And this is actually going to be my second best sale of the year. My best sale of the year is on my birthday. And so every year it gets better and better. But this year, for the end of the year, I just had one hell of a 2024. And so I'm like, you know what? We're just going to go out with a little bit of a bang. And so the whole site, except for the one D-Stash box, will be 24% off. It's automatic. It can be combined with other discount codes. You don't have to do anything. You just got to add the stuff to your cart and the discount will apply automatically. And yeah. So enjoy that. There will be a little email that goes out tomorrow, lets you know about the sale. Tuesday tote not excluded. I've decided to no longer exclude the lower priced items. It's just a lot of work, honestly. Not for me. It's a lot of work for the people that promote for me, such as my testers. A lot of work to have them explain that little detail. And specify it. So the Tuesday tote is included, as well as the Rowena add-on for the zippered sides and the template files, all that stuff. So 24% off everything on the site, including stickers, labels, all that good stuff. Yeah. And so again, tomorrow until 11:59 on the 1st, 11:59 Central Time. Hi, Nancy. And so that's that sale. There won't be another sale until the Pisces pack releases. And then there will be the opening weekend sale for that, which is, I don't remember what I do, 15%? I don't know. It's whatever I normally do. I don't remember anything. I have to look at my old stuff to see what I used to do. I've only done it so many times. I should remember, but I don't. And then there'll be my birthday sale, and then whatever the next pattern is, that will be the sale after that. So this is, if you want to get in on sales, those are your heads up on those. Yeah. And so I'm going to turn this on. I should have turned this on earlier, but I keep getting asked a lot about fusing foam, and a lot of people, sorry if that made noise, a lot of people don't really know how to fuse foam. And since I have your attention, I'm going to just show you how I fuse foam, how it works for me, and maybe a couple of the like caveats to this process. And then, you take that and you use that as you will. I am no expert in fusing all things interfacing. There are people that know a lot more than me. I only know what works for me and what the materials I use tolerate and all that stuff. So this is probably going to pop a couple, 3 times, by the way. So if you hear like a bang, that's what that is, hopefully. So anyway, I don't do anything too special. I just use, this is technically a steam press. I don't put water in it. I just hate putting water in electric items if I can avoid it. They just degrade with time, and I don't see why I need to do that when I have a spritzer right there that gives me the same results. So I have a Teflon sheet that I have half pinned, half stapled to the bottom of my steam press, and then I have a top Teflon sheet that's been attached to the back of the steam press so that it can kind of serve as a flap, so I can just lift it up and out of the way, put my stuff down, put the Teflon sheet back on, and then I'll close it. And that protects my material. And there's something, the box when you buy the Teflon sheet essentially says something along the lines of it kind of does a better job of distributing heat and stuff. I don't know how true any of that stuff is. That's what they claim. Just because it's on the box doesn't mean it's true. But I don't see, for me, it's more about protecting the top of my steam press over time. But also it does work for spritzing purposes for me. And so the tinfoil hat theory that I like to share about foam is, so if you're using regular Pellon foam, everyone complains about Pellon foam. That's all that I use, and I use foam more than I use anything else. It is a 1/4 inch thick. And so think about when you're steaming just a basic piece of woven or canvas. You need steam, but you need the normal amount of steam because it's a normal thickness of whatever it is that you're going to be using. But the thicker the material you go, the more steam you need to use the more steam you need to generate, because that heat needs to go further down, right? It's traveling. It needs to penetrate more layers. And so you have something that's like a 1/4 inch thick, you need to generate a lot of steam. And you also need to add pressure. So you're going to compress it with that steam so that all of it goes down to this layer of glue, finally hits that layer of glue, and then it melts and it spreads. And once it melts and spreads, you have that fusion of the glue, and then you let it cool once, because this is going to insulate that glue, right? So if you take it off that heat press right away, it's still really hot. So the glue is still wet. It's still pliable. It's still gonna be tacky, and so you need to let it sit and cool so that the glue hardens, so that then you've got that nice fusion of your foam on your material. Emma says fusible foam costs so much in the UK, so I avoid it, but I love how it looks in others' photos in the groups. I just love foam. It gives the right amount of structure. It's comfortable to use on a bag, and it gives the structure I want compared to other stabilizers that are out there that give me a lot of other things that I don't want, such as wrinkles and stuff like that. And once you get used to fusing and using foam, I think that you get used to it. You start liking it more and more. Bobby says, your foam tips were life-changing. Always loved the feel look of foam, but hated fusing it until your tips. It really works. Thank you. Amazing. I'm so glad to hear that. Penny says, I love foam, but I use sew-in. Love it. So I don't use sew-in because almost all of the time my stabilizers stay outside of my seam allowance, and so I want them to stay there. And so I could sew it in, but then I'd have to trim it and all that stuff. And so for me, I'm just used to doing it this way, and it works. Using EVA, I don't know what EVA is. Can you, it's probably very obvious and I'm just completely missing it, but if you could tell me what that is, I could give you my maybe opinion on it. So what I do, and hopefully I have no issues with the mic here. I'm going to roll on back. So my heat press doesn't have temperature settings other than like the material type, because it's not like a heat press, right? It's a steam press. So I have minimum, nylon, silk, wool, cotton, and linen. Now, if I'm using cotton or linen, I'm going to use one of those two settings, but I don't typically do anything with vinyl higher than the wool setting because it still fuses the way that I need it to, and I don't have to worry about it getting too hot, hopefully. But not all vinyls react the same to heat press, heat settings, all that stuff. Some vinyls will shrink in this process and all that. So you just need to learn your materials. That's part of the growth of your skill. It should be also learning materials and how they respond to the things that you're doing to manipulate them. So first, I always like to press my vinyl as flat as I can. This one has some wrinkles in it, so I just let it be. Mine has a 10-second timer on it. Once I hit 10 seconds, it beeps really loudly, so I don't let it do that. I know there's a comment or two, and I can't read them, but I will in a moment. So normally you would mark where you want to center your stabilizer. Make sure you have the glue side down. My foam is rolled, so I know that when it's like this, glue side is down, and when it's like this, glue side is up. So I'm going to place it down, and I'm not going to spritz my foam. And the reason why I don't spritz my foam is because it's easier to generate the steam when it's sitting on top of this Teflon sheet. So this Teflon sheet is like woven plastic, essentially, that is very tightly woven. So when I spritz water, the beads stay on top of the Teflon sheet where I need it to be. And so I'm going to spritz fairly heavily. So I'm seeing all those beads of water on top of the Teflon sheet. It's not really soaking through. And as soon as this hot plate hits it, it's going to generate steam, and I'm getting the pressure. So all that's going to happen is the steam's going to go down. And so I'm going to do that now. For me, you probably can't see it, but there's water that pulls up on the outside here. And that's just because it's also pushing it. So there's the beep. Sorry if that was majorly loud. And then normally I'll feel the foam, and I can kind of tell if it needs a little bit more of a press depending on how much water I put on it. So I'll typically do a second one just to make sure that I've evaporated as much of that moisture as I can. And then it's done. Now I'm going to let this sit and cool. Again, that's still really hot. It's insulated that glue. The glue is still kind of wet. And so I'm going to let it just do its thing. Rolling back. Okay. Hi, Kira. Oh, here we go. Eva foam is used in costuming. It's definitely non-interfacing. I haven't used it. So I have no opinion on it. That's why I said maybe opinion. Okay. And then, okay. Yes, Teflon sheet for me is the way that I do it, because you have to travel through the Teflon sheet to then generate the steam that's on the foam itself when it's in the heat press. So for me, I'm generating the steam. That's the goal, and I found that that's the most efficient way to do it. Thank you, Kira. I know you would. You could always use self-adhesive foam. A lot of people do that. I don't personally use self-adhesive foam because it's a little harder for people to get. And I know that Pellon fusible foam is not that hard for most people to get. It's not the cheapest thing, not always available, but it's more available than the other options of foam. And as a designer, I think it's very important for me to utilize the products that are most readily available. So that's why if you see that I don't use things like, I don't remember what the fusible foam is from Fabric Therapy, but that one or other stabilizers, it's not because I don't support that business. It's because for me, it's more important to test my products using the things that are more commonly available. I can't do that with like vinyls and stuff because there's just too many of those. But interfacing and stabilizers, those are the ones that I can. And so that's why I do that. So now that you see the foam has been fused, it's on there. And I'm going to show you, it could need more. It could need a third press, but just with the 2 presses that you saw. And now that it's cooled down, when I pull this apart, you'll see that I'm not pulling the foam glue layer off of the material. I'm pulling the foam. That glue layer is on there. It is on there. So I have now ruined my foam, but all that adhesive that I've just fused to the materials on there. That's a solid fuse. People don't fuse their foams because I don't think that they know how, but I promise you, if you do this and you have a heat press, I think that's the key right there. If you have one of those, this is the way to go. Nico says it's smart to spray the Teflon. I'm going to try that too. It makes so much sense. Amazing. Clever idea using spray on top. When do you decide foam over fusible fleece? Or do you use both all the time? Foam is, nowadays, I use foam whenever I can. I just have learned to love it so much. But there are times where foam is not the option. And I think it really is like when you have a couple layers of something. Now, so in the Pisces pack, I have a slip pocket that goes on the front, and it's kind of constructed in, of course, a very ridiculous way. And I put on my notes that I had to reference like no foam, fusible fleece or Deca Light, because it's too high. It ends up interfering with kind of the necessary. You would need to compress it more, so it ends up adding too much height to whatever you're doing, interfering with too much stuff. But nowadays, I use foam in almost every bag that I make. I used to use fusible fleece in almost every bag that I make, or thermolam, because I do like, especially with the crossbody, I tend to like that it is kind of slouchy, kind of forms to your body. It's got a little bit of a structured yet soft feeling, and I like that. But I've just grown so much in love with foam that that's my go-to now. Yes, learn something new every day. There's always, I'm big into techniques. Techniques are my jam. And so once I learn how to do something correctly or efficiently, then I'm never going to not do it that way, because I've gotten the technique down. I don't have to worry about the technique anymore. Now the art gets to come and the creativity gets to come. And that's the important part for me. Thermolam you have. I need to try and find a foam solution though. So, if you didn't know, that's a similar way to fuse thermolam and fusible fleece as well. A lot of people have a hard time fusing those, and they just press it down and wait for the heat to get down. But you remember, you have thickness and the height, and so steam needs to travel. So just the pressure of the heat's not going to, you're going to melt that top layer of fleece before you're probably going to hit that layer of glue. That is why if you read the instructions, they tell you to steam it or spritz it so that you can access that layer of glue on the bottom. Anyway. It's my TED Talk for the day. Yeah. So let's see. Another question that I get a lot is, can I skip interfacing? And I think that you guys know what I'm going to say. You can do that all you want. It just depends on the end result that you want to get. Skipping interfacing seems like it saves a ton of time. In my opinion, if I skip interfacing and I hate the way the bag turns out, then I've wasted hours of time, versus if I spend the extra 10 to 15 minutes that it takes to cut out and fuse that interfacing, and I have the bag look amazing because it's structured, then it's worth it for me. It's so much worth it. I would hate to go through all that trouble, use these beautiful materials and hardware, and then at the end be like, well, I wish I would have put interfacing in it. It's a lot harder to do that once it's already been sewn. To me, it's worth it. It doesn't cost that much money. In the grand scheme of your bag, it does not cost that much money. It costs a lot of money to accumulate over time these rolls and rolls of interfacing and stabilizers, but on a per bag basis, you're going to get better results, and it's not that expensive. As Nikki says, interfacing is not the enemy. Nikki is the interfacing queen, so please listen to her. It really isn't. And so I say structure is going to come from your stabilizers and your interfacing. It's not going to come from the materials that you're using most of the time. They can contribute to the structure, absolutely, but the basis of your structure is going to be stabilizers and interfacing. And so if you want that bag to look nice, you want it to stand up on its own, you want it to just feel nice when people pick it up, and want it to be substantial, support the things that are in it, then you need to add the interfacing and stabilizers. Monica's like, oh, your bags are as perfect as it gets. Again, I don't believe that, but I also don't ever skip on interfacing. If that means anything to any of you, don't skip it. I mean, certain projects call for certain things, and you can absolutely skip in some of those places, but I think it's always worth figuring it out and trying it at least once. There's a bag that I made a rosy specifically without any interfacing so that I could show people, like, this is what it looks like with that. And then I was too afraid to write foam into the rosy pattern because I had gotten so much kickback from the Mayfield about foam. And then in the video, I was like, you know what? Whatever. I'm going to show you all why I use foam. And so I used it in the pattern video, and a lot of other people chose to use foam. And the amount of compliments I get from using foam in the rosy is crazy. And so from many naysayers to now yaysayers, I'd say stabilizers and interfacing are not the enemy. They are just, it just elevates your bag. That's all it's going to do. Lauren says, I'll never forget making my first batch of bags and needing an entire bolt of SF101 at $40. I was like, this is so expensive. Absolutely. But we also didn't have the options we have now. And I stopped buying interfacing years ago, and I will never go back, or SF101 years ago, and I will never go back. First of all, it's an inferior product. If you guys didn't know this, okay, Lauren knows now, and a lot of people know now. If you didn't know, SF101 is inferior to almost every other woven interfacing you can get your hands on. And it's probably twice as expensive. And it's harder to get. So I definitely, if you can find a good woven interfacing, I highly suggest Wawak's Profuse Flexible Woven. I use that exclusively now. It's readily available. They ship super fast, and it's cheap, and it works really well. It's a good weight. But absolutely, like, I remember when I first started sewing, I always used interfacing for the most part, but I also used a lot of cork, and cork has a really great structure on its own. That's why I'm not going to say that all of your structure comes from your stabilizers and your interfacing, because some of it will come from your materials. It will contribute to that. And cork has a really great structure on its own without adding a lot of it. I love cork. I just don't love how cork wears and tears over time, and that's why I got away from it. But I adore it so much otherwise. But I used a lot of stabilizers, but I also tried to skip when I could. And I just remember always, especially when I switched over to vinyl, I was like, wow, I can't really skip any interfacing pieces, or at least I can, it's a minimal amount that I can skip. And that's part of the reason why I wrote the Gaia with just fusible fleece and minimal interfacing there, is because I was so used to using cork that had that own really nice structure that you could just kind of accentuate with the addition of fusible fleece or thermolam. And with vinyls, that's not true. You really have to adjust it and add woven interfacing or use different stabilizers as needed. Bobby says Wawak interfacing is her jam. So good. Emma says, I'm just going to need to make arrangements to visit my friend in the US, get my hands on some of the stabilizers interfacing that you have over there. Yes. Do a Wawak order. I mean, you could be here for 3 days, and no doubt that Wawak order will show up at your doorstep if you ordered it right before you left. No doubt. They're so fast. They're really great. Okay. I did not bring water. My throat is dying. Thank you guys for tuning in. I mean, it's truly on the way out, like tickle central in there. I'm gonna mute. Okay, I'm gonna get water. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my afternoon. Like I said, there will be a sale, so keep an eye out on the emails if you have subscribed to the newsletter. If you haven't subscribed to the newsletter, I'm sure there's going to be a billion posts about it. And if not, just go to the website sometime tomorrow. It'll be on there anyway. And Kira says Wawak has the best tape too. And she doesn't care what anyone says. I agree it's great tape. I hate that you can't rip it. So for me, it's a convenience factor. Thank you for the sympathy cough, Nikki. I have got to get water. So anyway, thank you for tuning in. Panic bye. Oh, I can't click the button. There it is.